How's it going, guys? My name is Eish and welcome back to MoneyMetEish. This is the first MoneyMetEish portfolio review we have done in a year. The last one we did was in May last year before we went back to South Africa, and that's really the last time we have actually paid any attention to this portfolio, which I know is not great, but we were busy in the last year focusing on paying off all our debt, and now that that is done and we've just passed 100k in the portfolio, finally, woohoo! I thought what better time than to have a look at the portfolio, see what we have in each account, and just go through one by one all the holdings, and maybe have a look back at the portfolio and what we want it to be in the future. So before we get started, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe down below, and ring the bell to be notified whenever we upload new videos. And without any further ado, let's start with the USA account. The US account has 13 holdings, that's 12 individual stocks and an ETF. And from the biggest to the smallest, they are Microsoft at 17%, the only ETF, the iShares MSCI Taiwan, which is 13.6%. The next biggest holding is Alphabet at 10%. We then have Nvidia at 8.7%. Then we have Costco and Amazon both at 8.2%. Berkshire Hathaway at 6.5%. McDonald's and Coca-Cola at 6% and 5% respectively. BlackRock and Tesla both at 4.2%. Cloudflare and Lockheed Martin at 4.3%, and finally the smallest holding at less than 1%, Manchester United. And as an Arsenal fan, I'll get into why I own Manchester United at the end of the video. If we look at the winners and losers in the portfolio, the overall winner in both percentage and dollar terms has been Nvidia, which has a total gain since we've bought it of 88.63%, or a dollar value of $46.7. Nvidia is up 147% since October, and that great run continued into 2023, with it being up 94% year to date. So overall and year to date, Nvidia is our best performing stock so far. The loser, on the other hand, kind of depends on how you look at it. We have Cloudflare, which is the loser in percentage terms, having lost 43.6%, but it gets worse if we're looking at just the actual dollar value of how much we've lost, because Cloudflare is quite a small percentage of the portfolio. That 43% is really only $28. On the other hand, the 27% lost by Amazon is $35, simply because Amazon is a much bigger part of the portfolio. So the biggest loser is either Cloudflare or Amazon, depending on how we're looking at it. 0.7% of the portfolio is our holding in Manchester United, and that is an attempt to make a little bit of money off of a rival being sold. I don't see too much good for my club in Manchester being bought by either a Saudi or a Qatari, so I am kind of hoping that I can make a little bit of money off of the sale of the club. I did a whole thread on the sale of Manchester United on Twitter, and I'm kind of hoping that we can make a little bit of money off of it. It's like less than $10, very similar to a stock that we're holding in the JSC account, which we will cover right now. For the longest time, the JSC account consisted of 5 holdings, and those were Spar, Purple Group, ShopRite, Affine Investments, and EC10. I gave up on Spar and sold out just before the company went on an 18% run, and they're now the best performing retailer in South Africa year to date, and doing great. But we would still be like more than 20% down from our overall purchase price, so yes, I did sell at a loss. I also sold EC10 at a loss because I was 80 something percent down and would have needed like a 300% gain to get back to zero. Sometimes, guys, you just need to sell at a loss. I know people are like, oh, it's only a loss if you sell. Well, if you need 300% for it to get back to zero, just sell, right? Cut your losses. You should have done it a lot sooner. I didn't. Lesson learned. Very well. Since we are participating in the Crystal Challenge for 2023 with David Shapiro and Sasfin, I took all the money from the Spar sale and the EC10 losses and I took that money and I put it into the 5 companies that we selected for the challenge as a way to sort of put my money where my mouth is, I suppose. And since we already owned 2 of the companies already, being ShopRite and Affine, I really only needed to add 3 more holdings to the portfolio, and those were African Rainbow Minerals, Outsurance, and Mustech. And so far, all of them are doing really well, except for African Rainbow Minerals. I mean, yes, ShopRite is down 6% year to date, which is not great for my Crystal Challenge, but it is still the biggest winner so far in the portfolio, up 45%, even with it being down 6% year to date. But before I tell you who the loser is, let's have a look at how the companies in the ZAR account are distributed by weight. Number 1, not really surprisingly, the biggest holding that I have is ShopRite. It makes up 34% of this portfolio. It is the best retailer in South Africa. There is nothing you can tell me that will convince me otherwise. It touches every single LSM level, and it is and can get everywhere. ShopRite is the best retailer, possibly in Africa, definitely in South Africa, maybe even in the world. Fight me on it in the comments. Purple Group is the second largest holding. It's 28% of the portfolio, and we are actually still in some profit. I know a lot of people are eating big losses on Purple Group at the moment, and that takes us to the third biggest holding, and that is, not surprisingly, my favorite REIT in South Africa, Affine Investments. It makes up 21% of the portfolio, and you can see that these 3 biggest holdings make up a whopping 88% of our ZAR account. That leads us with our smaller holdings, the biggest of which is African Rainbow Minerals. I bought it because I thought, as part of the 5 stocks that I want for the Crystal Challenge, I need a miner, and I guess I picked the wrong shiny rock this year. I went with PGM miners when if I had a crystal ball, I suppose, I would have gone with gold. The gold miners have had a crazy year, and the PGM miners have also had a crazy year, but opposite to the gold miners. I guess the 17% of Harmony Gold that ARM actually owns just isn't panning out the way that I thought it would have on the share price. So the other 2 holdings that I have are Mustech and Outsurance. Now, I chose Mustech because Eskom is useless and load shedding, and I chose Outsurance because crime is insane and insurance. So those are the reasons behind why I chose those 3 companies, and they make up a very, very small percentage of the ZAR account. The final holding, which is also just a little bit above 1%, is Jasco Electronics, which I honestly know very little about. I have very little interest in knowing about it. I checked on Sands that they were going to be bought out and delisted at 16 cents a share. They were currently 13 cents a share when I bought them, so I will make 23% when they delist, which is a great return. I should have put more money in. I only put 100 Rand in, so I will leave with 123 Rand when the delisting happens. And it's basically the same as Man United. I want to play around with these delisting and buyout shares. I want to sort of dabble in them a little bit more. So Jasco is my example in South Africa, and Man United is my example in the US that I'm kind of playing around with just to see how it goes. The money is inconsequential. The learning is why we're here. And that leads us to the biggest part of the portfolio at 70%, the tax-free savings account. Now, as I said in the beginning of the video, we have not contributed to this account in really any meaningful way in a year, and that's because we were having a look at either putting money in the tax-free savings account or paying off debt. And with the interest rate hikes, it made far more sense for us to just get rid of all of the debt, since all of the debt was high interest debt. So we decided to get rid of that debt, and we can now finally focus on the tax-free savings account. We will go into much more detail about the debt in a future video, so stay tuned for that when it comes out. Anyway, tax-free savings account, it makes up 70% of the overall MoneyMetEish EasyEquities portfolio, and the biggest holding is actually split between 2 ETFs which are virtually exactly the same size, and that is the Signia S&P 500, and the core shares total world. Together they make up just under 60% of the portfolio. We also hold the Nasdaq 100, which comes in at number 3 at 18% of the portfolio, followed by number 4, the biggest disappointment, the Signia, Fourth Industrial Revolution. Anyway, it is number 4. In number 5, we have the only unit trust we own, which is 7.5% of the portfolio, and that is the Sentio Hikma Sharia General Equity Fund, which leads us to the fund that I am most excited to put a ton of money in this year, and that is the Satrix India. It's currently only 4%. It is the smallest of all the holdings we have in this account. And that's where I'm looking to put a large part of this year's allocation. It's going to be split between the Satrix India and the two big boys, the core shares total world and the Signia S&P 500. That is sort of my planning for the tax-free savings account this year, but as we know, life very seldom goes to plan. 100,000 Rand has been the goal for this account for the longest time, and we have finally reached it, and it's given a little bit of relief, but also some time to reflect on the account. And I've been going over it in the last couple of days since we hit the milestone, and I've really realized that I am actually not doing nearly half as much of the due diligence that I should be doing on our individual holdings. I really love researching stocks in the beginning, but I haven't done any maintenance on the majority of the holdings that we have after purchasing them. So my plan for the portfolio is to limit it from the 17 odd holdings there are now to just 5. I'm going to go through and pick 5 stocks that I feel like I can truly spend a lot more time on and maintain these positions. Those will be the 5 that I hold going into the future. The rest of those funds will be put into ETFs. I feel like I've reached a point where I need to be honest with myself about my ability to pick stocks. I am looking to narrow this portfolio down to just 5 holdings, and the rest will be put into ETFs. So that's the plan for the portfolio going forward. We will be doing monthly reviews like this, again, just to see how it goes. We can sort of track it. If you'd like to stay up to date with the MoneyMetEish portfolio and see how it grows, please hit the like button, subscribe down below, and ring the bell to be notified whenever we upload new videos. Also, comment down below if you hold any of these positions, or let me know what your largest holding in your portfolio is down below. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.